Members and guests, gracias, era muy sabroso. Merci, c'était très délicieux. Thank you, it was very delicious. That phrase resonates throughout my life. It started in 1971, summer. I was 9 years old. It was June. And my father told my brother and me, "Boys, I'm taking you to Ecuador tomorrow." We were excited. Traveled through the day. The next morning, disembarked the airplane in Quito. I remember the smell of the Andean air at sunrise. I had my first and my second cups of coffee shortly after. The first cup was at the Airport Observatory restaurant. I remember the smell of the coffee in my cup, the milk, and the mud at the bottom of my cup. My father said it was the grounds. We continued our trip. The second cup of coffee wasn't as enjoyable. It was enjoyable up until the end when my father said to my brother, "Mike, ask for the check in Spanish." I froze because I knew I was next and I didn't know what was coming. And he says, "La cuenta, por favor," very quietly. My father took the bill, handed the money over to me with the check and said, "Son, go pay for it. And tell the woman, gracias, era muy sabroso. Thank you, it was very delicious." I went up to the cashier and I said to her, "Gracias. Era muy sabroso." And she looked at me through her Coke bottle glasses and she says, "It was very good?" I went, "Yes." I resisted Spanish from that moment on. I resisted it for the 2 years that were required for Texas high school students. So much so that my father asked me, "Would you like to learn another language, son?" And smart aleck that I was, said, "Yes, I want to learn German." 3 months later, I was on a plane for Frankfurt to live with some German relatives, distant relatives, for 11 months. I returned home speaking English with a German accent. Still, I resisted Spanish until I fell passionately and uncontrollably in love with a Cuban. That's the perfect impetus for learning a language. I moved to Costa Rica with a family for 5 months, to live with a family for 5 months. There were 11 of us in a 3-bedroom house. The passionate love affair ended, the relationship ended, but the passion died many years later. I turned my attentions north and found profound love in the heart of Canada. That was 19 years ago. And as I sat in my chair in my living room this January, I watched the sky darken and the snow fall. 2 kitties beside me purring in stereo and the wood stove crackling. My profound love made dinner, and I thought about all of the recipes for delight and disaster that I had created throughout my life. And I remembered a coffee shop in Ecuador. I reached for the phone and I called my father. "Dad, do you remember a coffee shop in Ecuador?" "Oh God, son, do I ever," he said to me, which took me by surprise. He said, "You and I were at loggerheads. You did not want to speak Spanish. Everybody in that restaurant was shooting daggers at me because I thought I was the biggest jerk of a father." I was, wow, Dad, such different worldviews we have. We talked for over an hour. Mentioned that of his 7 children, I'm the only one who's bilingual, trilingual, and studying a 4th language. So we talked for over an hour, like I say, and for my dad and I, that in itself was a success. I love you too, Dad. Oh, and Dad, gracias. Era muy sabroso.
Mhm.